this being known as Marvel Boy. He's a being from another universe. You know, the main universe we're used to is the main 616. He's from a different universe, but he crossed over with 616 canon characters. He's a being that comes from a dimension where there's transcendental peace and universal enlightenment. He's traveled across millions of alternate dimensions. He's a Kree explorer from another dimension, engineered with insect traits for combat superiority, and he also loves music, and he used to date Kate Bishop. Some even dub him a Kree super soldier because he's perfected with insect DNA. So throughout this video, you're going to see a lot of examples of this stuff. So, you know, he has enhanced reflexes, strength, speed, and stamina, knowledge of advanced Kree technology and weaponry. He's one of those characters that, just like every character, he's went through a lot of different evolutions. He went on different adventures. He's even became an Avenger and even got the name known as Captain Marvel, even though he's better known as Marvel Boy. Yeah, Marvel has a lot of Marvel named characters. You can tell that his place he's from has a lot of good tech. You can just see different scans of proof of his tech. Matter of fact, his adventures get so deep to the point where we even see a future him. Marvel has this habit of showing possible futures that might not come true, but yeah, I guess you can get an idea of how he would look thousands of years from now. I guess that lets you know that he can pretty much live for thousands of years, or he has longevity. And he's even had technically temporary power-ups where he gets a new suit, which I'm definitely going to bring back up later on. This guy probably would have not have got a video if it wasn't for this extremely generous donation, y'all. So everybody thank this person. Without sugarcoating anything when it comes to his physiology, I've already mentioned this, but yeah, he's a Kree living weapon. He was literally experimented on. He's half man, half cockroach, insect DNA. That's why he can do stuff like sticking on walls, like Spider-Man kind of. That's why you see him standing upside down here. Pages like this that show his powers and abilities pretty much reaffirm what I just said. One of the benefits being that he has better hearing than normal. On top of him being able to stick on walls like Spider-Man, he's very flexible. Like, I'm talking about triple jointed flexible. And there's multiple comics saying he's triple jointed. He's one of those characters that's decently versatile because he even tells you himself the stuff he can do. Fingernails are explosive compound, shown here and here. His literal spit, saliva, is a drug, which is why there's different scans like this where you see him spit on different beings. People that are not aware of his power think he's just being nasty, when this is actually a very smart thing to do. Like, it's talked about how saliva can induce hallucinations and enable him to control another person's mind temporarily. So yeah, his spit is a psychedelic drug. And there's more. He has complete control over his body and mind, which is part of the reason on why he can lengthen his nails and stab people using his nails as bodily weaponry. He's even talked about here on how he can change their molecular structure. He can solidify his hair into a weapon. He can increase his speed to run over 150 miles per hour with this technique right here. I'm definitely going to bring back up later on, called the White Run. But this also brings me on to his gear. He's already superhuman in every aspect, basically, but he has overpowered gear. One of his gear he has lets him carry around his own laws of physics type weapon. Different comics even call it a pocket battlefield. It's a localized area where physics are what I say they are. Yeah, it's one of the weapons he got, like, on one of his many adventures. The pocket battlefield, self-contained physics. It's talked about here. It's time-space distortion field. It's talked about here on how it works during that time. Gravity, momentum, and inertia are what I say they are. It's one of those type of gears he can use for defensive purposes too. If there's something big about to explode, you can just go in here and kind of be safe, and you won't feel the recoil being within this sphere. The only limit I would say is that it's not that big, so you can't fit the whole town in this or nothing. Imagine being an advanced civilization without artificial intelligence. He has his own version of an AI, his own version of Siri, Plex. The Plex is a programmable plasm housing the accumulated wisdom of the entire Kree race, assessed via multiple personality complex interface. Like, he's just techie. Like, look at all this AI hologram technology stuff. You know, Kree. This could be like an intellect feed or technology creating tech feed. He has means of time travel. And like, he has this shape-shifting gauntlet thing that pretty much allows him to make his own gun all the time. That's what he usually makes. His gear is literally a part of him. Like, you see how the weapons just kind of shape into what he needs. Like, you see what I'm talking about? Like, you see how it shapes the weapons usually? Like, you see how it literally looks like it shapeshifts in the weapons. That's what he usually does, but he can make it into other stuff like literal swords or blades to, you know, use it in melee combat. He has other stuff like grenades he can launch off at you. He even has times where he's using these things that look similar to nunchucks, what we know of on Earth. This super arrow you saw Kate Bishop using, it's because of him, the reason why she got this. Being the warrior he is, he's obviously skilled with different weapons, using handguns, assault rifles. There's plenty of occasions of him showing off his marksmanship in different situations, hitting multiple people. Like, you can see the hand-to-hand combat skills too. Characters like the Sentry even acknowledge that he's a pretty good fighter. There's nothing really contradicting it based on his showings either. Like, he's the type that'll do moves like this and then blitz you with melee style, you know? I mean, what do you expect from a character whose body is infested with nanotechnology? allowed him to reroute pain perception and all this madness. But let's get into how strong Marvel Boy is, muscle-wise. Okay, so right off gate, you know the handbook, they give him a class 25. You know how the word class, they use the word ton sometimes. The ton thing shouldn't be their limit, like how they named Spider-Man 10 ton or whatever, but we actually see Spider-Man lift 60 plus tons, even though they call him a class 20 or a class 10. He's lifted things that are 60 plus tons. So take it with a grain of salt, but I guess you can get an idea of their bare minimum when it comes to Marvel Boy as well. I guess you could say right off gate, he can lift 25 tons as a bare minimum. You know, they say the word ton here. Don't take that as their max. But like, think about it. Like I already mentioned, Spider-Man is a 10-tonner class, but he can lift 60 tons. Let's just say he's in a 25-ton class. He should automatically be able to lift 60 plus tons, similar to other characters that have lower strength class tiers. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Let's face it, it would be weird if Marvel Boy couldn't lift 60 plus ton tanks. This should be a given for him too. I mean, when you see him lift stuff, there's nothing really contradicting it. Look how easily he lifts these beings up by crawling. He's able to hold back all these creatures with his muscle by himself, keeping his door closed from all these zombies. The steel containment, he's able to literally bust out with raw muscle. Creatures that are larger than himself, he can overpower with muscle, throw them in the air this high. And when you see him lift stuff, it doesn't seem like to be the hardest thing ever. Nothing really contradicts him being able to lift over 60 plus tons. If other class people can do that, I mean, look at all this debris he can just toss and swing. I would even say it wouldn't really be that much of an assumption based or reach to say he can lift over hundreds of tons, honestly. Marvel themselves in older comics have acknowledged when they give a character all this lifting power, they want it to translate to how hard they can punch, because comics even talk about it, how if I can lift 10 tons, like this isn't Marvel Boy right here, for example, but I'm gonna give you an example on how Marvel wants you to know that when they give a character all this lifting strength, it translates to how hard they can hit, because he talks about if I can press 10 tons, what would my fist feel like on your face? So that lets you know that when they give a character this strength, they're talking about punching power too. It's even talked about when it comes to Captain America's shield. Captain America's shield usually couldn't pierce a Hulk tier being, but when the shield is thrown by somebody that's Hulk tier, it can pierce. So it does matter about how hard a character can hit, depending on if something damages a character. And if we already established the Marvel Boy can, you know, lift over hundreds of tons, you know the weight of his hits or punches, his kicks can do crazy damage. You see what he does to these different creatures on these different scenarios, kicks, punches, it doesn't matter. It knocks out cops with one hit with ease. He more than likely had to hold back against those cops. He even does this to stone beings with his strikes, his blunt strikes. There's like too many occasions of improving that all this super strength does translate to his punching power. It's the same thing when it comes to Marvel Boy's durability. It's just like the way he can strike with all this force, his body can withstand similar pressure. Because that's why when you see him get kicked by giant beings like this and get sent flying, kicked 5 miles type of flying, and he can still get up after stuff like this. That lets you know his durability level. Not to mention his pain tolerance. I mean, he literally had Vision's arm in his chest. That's why when you see him get in slugfest with beings like literally Luke Cage, yeah, that's Luke Cage, as even said it in the comic, you literally see him getting hit by these kind of beings, and he's still able to bounce back. I mean, he's even hit beings like the Hood. If you're somehow doubting at this point of how hard he can hit with just blunt punches with no gear or nothing, his tech or gear definitely would make you see him in a different light. Like when we're talking about blast power, like you see the walls compared to their size, you see when he blasts them, along with the other character he's with, he can create explosions like this, blow through walls obviously with his gun, or gauntlets. He can also do worse things with his guns, like literally blowing away a building or buildings, or just blast down a building, literally. Yeah, he can just blow away your stadium with his weapons on this side. I mean, his blast power is so crazy to where he once burned a block wide. So yeah, he could blow away more than one building, obviously a whole block. He burned a block wide curse word into the streets of New York and declared cosmic war on the people of Earth. This isn't BS when he stated he did this, because we actually seen him do this. Literally wrote a message, literally patterns this wide, with the amount of blast power he can produce, gigantic letters like this. So yeah, blowing away buildings is with laughable ease. Is it really shocking he can do this to these kind of rock creatures, you know? Yes, he's just carrying around guns that can just blow away your whole block, or even more than one block. But what if I told you this stuff gets worse? What if I told you his guns that he always has on him are scarier than nuclear bombs or explosions? They produce more energy or more pressure than actual nuclear bombs, because there's implications he can affect the powerhouse highest tier beings of Marvel with his gunshots. Oh wait, hold on. Not just his guns though. There's some implications he can even harm the top tiers of Marvel without his gear. With the Hulk and Thunder get together and they got like a darter that's powerful as heck. Lyra, you could literally argue like with his blunt hits, with his gear, he can can affect the heaviest hitters of Marvel with this. In this particular situation, I want it to be known that this is inside of his battlefield, pocket battlefield, where it's a place that has his own localized physics. So maybe in this universe, he made her durability weaker or something. But like, yeah, he has gear, like the pocket battlefield, that allows him to harm heavier hitters, beings that should easily be able to bust planets. You see him literally kick them in the face. I'm not necessarily saying he's as equal as strong as a Hulk being. I would still argue that the Hulk beings are still above him in raw muscle, of course, but it's occasions like this that make you think twice. Like, he literally gets punched by these beings more than once. He's even bleeding. He doesn't really make them bleed until while he's in this pocket dimension battlefield, his personal battlefield, he was actually able to cut a Hulkish tier being with his literal nails. That's a part of his physiology while he was inside of this. Like, do you want to take this as a feat for him, or do you want to take this as a feat for his gear? His thumbnail actually had a toxin that knocked her out for at least an hour. Like, let that sink in. So with his gear and stuff, there's implications he can hit as hard as the heavier hitters. Like, you know how Wolverine can't physically lift a planet, but he can damage the top tiers with his claws? You could almost look at him like this. Marvel Boy might not be physically on the level with a Hulk tier being, but he was able to cut one with his bladed but bodily weaponry inside his pocket universe that changes his own physics. How do you interpret that? He's able to cut beings that can withstand planets splattering in their face, you know? And his toxin was able to knock them out. So yeah, Lyra, look her up. She's a beast. Just keep in mind, Lyra can box it out with She-Hulk tiers. Just throwing that out there. We see him take a few hits from powerhouses like Namor. Like, Namor was kind of bullying him though, so interpret this how you will. Marvel Boy wasn't really fighting back, but he did block his hit here. So what does that say about Marvel Boy's might? I'm not saying he's necessarily equal to Sentry. Sentry's a being that literally, that's a big part of his lore, the having the power of 1 million exploding suns. This is a very peculiar instance. Like, them two imply to be able to kind of slugfest, even though Sentry might not be fighting his absolute hardest. We see him punch here. We see him crash into a building here. We see Marvel Boy appear to be hitting Sentry back. It seems to be like a literal slugfest while they're having a little chat. Beings like Sentry are so many times planet-shattering levels of power. If we was to say he was 1/1000th of Sentry strength, he would still technically be a planet shatterer just from doing this for a little bit if you want to take this kind of seriously. A witchy reality warping type character like Wiccan got blasted by Sentry here, for example. Sentry might have not blasted him trying to, incinerate him into nothingness, but he did survive that, so that's kind of crazy. Wiccan's that strong. Look what Wiccan can do to Sentry, kind of restrain him too. Let you know the powerhouses. So it's kind of crazy that he can literally hit with blunt punches to make beings like Wiccan sleepy. Beings like Captain Marvel literally state they can melt holes in stars with their blast, just casual blast. Miss Marvel, whatever you want to call her, Carol Danvers, never forget the size of the Earth compared to the sun. Anybody that can blast a hole in something this much bigger than Earth easily are planet-shattering beings. Now, this wasn't a full-blown fight, but Miss Marvel, aka Captain Marvel, got in a little scuffle with Marvel Boy here. She hit him, and the blood was drawn. He grabbed her back and kind of had her like this for a second or two, but it wasn't like nothing super serious or nothing. Like, I just think it's impressive she can throw a punch at him and he can catch it and put her arm behind him. He can't be weak. He can't be far based on little occasions like this. I mean, there's beings literally like Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, for example, that we've literally seen him get hit by. I don't think you guys realize that Pluto's a Skyfather Olympian tier being that doesn't even see base Thor as a worthy opponent unless his father Odin comes in. Just to give you an idea of why getting hit by beings like this is crazy, there's beings like Hercules that are stated to be no match for beings like Pluto. That's why Marvel Boy getting hit like this is crazy when you realize how strong Pluto is. Hercules is a being that can withstand having the pressure of the universe on his back for 3 hours and stuff, support that kind of weight. Stated in the lore, the myth feat, holding the heavens, burden feat myth type thing, infinite massive weights, that kind of thing. You see why there's some implications that Marvel Boy would have to technically by default be a planet buster? But if by some miracle you don't believe he's a planet buster with just raw concussive power, what about hacks? Do you think he could take on the top tiers via hack with his weird hacks abilities that don't really have nothing to do with strength? Like, his guns have to be on that level, but I'm talking about his physicals. Like, via hacks, what do you think about his fingernails or his spit being able to affect top tiers like Drax? This is a Drax clone, but the power level shouldn't be that much different, Beings like Drax are beings we've seen on panel actually destroy planets by clashing his punches with other powerful beings. Like, there was this art where Captain Marvel and everybody was fighting these little minion versions of, things that were giving Captain Marvel level beings issues, kind of, sort of, you know what I mean? Captain Marvel could easily destroy planets and stars and stuff. Moments like this literally prove what I just said. We see Captain Marvel tier beings do this to these kind of beings, and Marvel Boy can beam struggle with these beings. So what does that say about Marvel Boy? You see what I mean? Not to mention, if we bring up his pocket battlefield, he can literally create his own black hole. Like Rocket even said, can it make black holes? He said yes and yes to both. He can create his own black holes with his gear. So if you somehow don't believe his physical's on that level, his gear has to be. Like inside his own universe, he can literally create his own black hole within his own dimension. So this would technically by default mean he can destroy planets within this sphere or produce that kind of energy, create stuff because he has full control of the physics, create stuff that can make his own black holes in here. Yeah, they said it, not me. I mean, Hercules is a literal divine being that can literally support the weight of the universe for 3 hours. There was things being petrified, turning into stone. His pocket universe was able to shield Hercules from stuff that would have been a threat to actually Hercules. He can protect Hercules from stuff that's actually a danger to his life via his shielding. Like his pocket battlefield, it's that resistant. But then even if we get off this, the Sentry literally has the power of 1 million exploding suns. The Sentry is one of those characters that can hit with the power of 1 million exploding suns. You know, that's what his hits feel like. He can also withstand similar punches from beings that can hit with similar force to him and stuff, via durability and stuff. You're probably wondering why am I bringing this up. See, Marvel Boy has gear. See, Marvel Boy isn't in this particular scan right here. Somebody was using Marvel Boy's gear. It's a gun from another planet. This is Marvel Boy's gear. Sentry. Bob got hit by Marvel Boy's gear and it was able to eviscerate or incinerate Sentry's head despite how durable the Sentry is. Now, the Sentry's power does depend on his mental state. No telling what his mental state was here. Let's just all agree that the potency of this blast would have to be so many times past sun-shattering levels to even be able to affect beings like Sentry this much. But I do want to admit that Sentry didn't die or nothing. It just did damage to his face, and Sentry did regenerate. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, that's still impressive that it was able to do all this to the Sentry. Sentry doesn't have trash durability. Look what happens when Spider-Man 2 try to hurt Sentry. His skin doesn't even get affected. So Marvel Boy's gun can do this kind of damage to Sentry. What does that say about Marvel Boy's gun? You know, it's basically proven that these are sun-shattering guns. I do this in every Marvel video, but yeah, Marvel Boy has had his fair share of temporary power-ups where he gets a real big buff and then loses it because the comic writers don't want him to stay like that the whole time. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I'm back to it. It's like a power-up because of gear, and he gets this new outfit like this. It amps everything up I've already said but to a higher degree. This is where he became the Protector. They even talk about it. There's these powerful nega bands. You've seen the nega bands on the channel or in Marvel before, and you've seen what they do to other characters. Like, he can literally look normal and then just power himself up and suit up like a Power Ranger. Y'all remember these morphs? Doesn't have the most screen time being a Protector, but they literally say when it comes to these nega bands, they are different design, different power source than the ones in Marvel wore. They were specially created for you. They are far more advanced and far more precious. You will be empowered to act and you will have the power to act. Look at all this he can do. Like, this normal stuff that he can do. Similar stuff that I already showed you. He can blow away that kind of stuff in this new form too. He's an energy projector, create force fields, fly, you know. I mean, yeah, he's got different nega bands, but just a reminder of what we've seen nega band users do. Like, beings literally being subatomic and they're causing destruction to the planet, the real size planet. I'm talking about beings putting so much power behind their hits they can shred entire worlds type stuff. So if you had your doubts about him being a planet buster, this amped up state, he's easily above that. He's up there with the heaviest hitters, for sure. This should give you an idea of why you should respect nega band users. Other nega band beings using different nega bands, we've seen them do this to King Thor, to your being, like this kind of stuff, damaging in them. But by some miracle you don't believe the Protector or Marvel Boy's power as a Protector being this crazy, well, how about actually seeing him face some of the strongest beings in the universe? It kind of adds up, like Thor hitting him. He can stay conscious from these hits. And then in this particular occasion, Captain Marvel, I've already brought her up, as the literal Protector, there's implications he was able to actually make her sleepy because it kind of happened off screen, but after this, the new comic came up. And you see everybody kind of drowsy, Thor included, Captain Marvel included, beings that can easily blow up stars. Thor himself can literally survive universe shaking type stuff. Bootleg Thors can withstand this kind of stuff. Attacks compared to the Big Bang, attacks that erupt simultaneously across all planes of reality kind of stuff. This was a kind of a cheap shot and he kind of caught them off guard, but hey, as durable as these characters are, for him to do this, it's kind of crazy. Oh, it's consistent when it comes to him as the Protector. Like, you know, Wonder Man was going crazy. He was able to hit and stagger Wonder Man here with his blast. Horsemen of Apocalypses, one of them being Scarlet freaking Witch of another universe. We see Marvel Boy as the Protector, clashing, shielding from these kind of beings like Scarlet Witch from another universe that's amped with Horsemen of Apocalypse power. No, I'm not BSing. Look at this. They even say the word Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. You know her blasts are crazy, and it's multiple scans of him clashing with her. No, I'm not playing. Again, another scan of him clashing with her, shielding from her, beam struggling with her. With these bands on, it should be illegal to say he couldn't destroy a planet at this point, y'all. He's more in the range of universe shaking at this point based on the powerhouses at Marvel and stuff, especially with the nega band. I mean, for Pete's sake, when Hulk was powered up more than ever, Noel Hulk, he was one of the 3 beings teaming up on damaging the Hulk here as the Protector. They made a crater like this. It's even talked about as a Protector. He can knock an Asgardian God of Fear Hulk on his butt. This is stated by another powerhouse tier Captain Marvel, so Miss Marvel, pretty sure she knows what she's talking about. This Hulk was Null Breaker of Worlds, which is a pun. We all know the Hulk can destroy planets without being in this form, but yeah, this form can definitely destroy planets too. Other powerhouses that you might underrate, we've seen him clash with like Iron Man. His body armor gear can deflect such attacks to further prove he's a heavy hitter. Same old Marvel powerhouse stuff. In this temporary powered up state, Marvel Boy as the Protector. But let's get off this. I don't want you guys to get confused and thinking he only needs this power up to be a beast. Still a beast with his normal gear. Because as you know, he did do impressive stuff with this gear. Of course, they wouldn't let him keep this gear. They are not going to let him keep them. But seriously, remember earlier how I said I was going to bring up speed again? Yeah, I'm about to bring that up again. He's one of those characters that can kind of do some semi-speedster type stuff by enhancing his speed. In a crisis, he can enter this white run state that magnifies his speed even further. There's pages like this that kind of expand on it. All unnecessary stimulus is eliminated from conscious awareness. Body intelligence takes control. No distractions are permitted. The mind is still there as no runner. You can tell when he enters it based on when you see the background white on certain scans like this where it shows his, insane increased speed. I guess you could say this is his Ultra Instinct mode. It's where you shut off all ego functions, conserve all mental energy for future action. It's kind of hard to interpret scans when they're not visually moving, but yeah, white room, like there's implications he's doing it here and how he's running in a circle real fast. I guess that's part of the reason why he can run so fast. Part of it is his insect genes or whatever, but part of this is speed of how he can run on the side of the walls. But even without this white run, his reflexes are still absurd. He can catch bow and arrows or just arrows that are mid-flight with his combat speed and reflexes. Catching knives is one thing, but it's just straight up stated. His reaction time is high enough to dodge bullets with ease, so meaning that's nowhere near his limit. Other handbooks say the same thing about him dodging bullets, so it's common. This is Marvel, so this shouldn't really be a shock to you anyway. Saying he can react to bullets is disrespectful and an oversimplification. We've seen him react to lasers, blasters. Like there's even moments you will see the projectile almost hit him, he just dodges at the last second. That's combat speed. Like, it's just too many occasions that he can do light speed type reflex type stuff. Like, it's common. Like, even super soldier teams can do that kind of stuff. Marvel Boy should be able to do that too. I mean, let's be honest. He literally speed blitzed all these people, soloed all these young Avengers, one of them being Wiccan when he went to this white mode. Like, you can literally see it happening. They got blitzed. This is a mixture of him running real fast and just straight up combat speed to where Vision had to step in. He even got out of Vision's grip. Even though Vision went intangible inside of him and solidified himself, he still was able to get free and continue fighting, completely speed blitzing everybody to the point where they even had to mention it. Oh, he's so fast. If you didn't know better, you probably would have thought this was Quicksilver in these scans. He has white hair similar to him, outfit kind of similar too. It's easy to get it confused. Look at all these dodges, combat speed, making them hit them with their own gear and all that. But yeah, even getting off the subject of combat speed, never forget that when it comes to his gear, he has gear that can even threaten Skyfather tiers. Like, okay, let me give it some context. This is like a team effort, of course, but there was like this black hole bullet that was supposed to threaten Zeus, and even Zeus says, you can't cage me with that. You can't beat me with the same power twice. And he said, no, alone, not, but together. So it was a team effort. The Master of the Sun, the Dragon of the Moon, focused through a utopian Kree liquid weapon. So this is like a team effort with Marvel Boy to get the upper hand on a Skyfather like Zeus working together. So what do you think about Marvel Boy? Is he a threat to the powerhouses? Do you think it's only his gear that's a threat to the powerhouses? Or do you think he himself is too, with his muscle or just normal fist with no amp? No negaband. Hey, don't judge me, but he does have a lot of very suspicious occasions with the powerhouses and getting the dub over them. This was an extended scuffle with Century. I'm just saying, but all of this madness could be just me. Do you respect Marvel Boy? Did you know he was this strong? What did you learn new? Do you like his protector suit or you like him without the protector suit more? Do you like him with the negabands or without the negabands? I want to hear your thoughts below, and quickly do me a favor, subscribe, like, comment, share, turn on notifications. Another quick thanks to the donations. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.